Well, here we are. I'm just going to give a quick tour of the Glen Dora so people that can't be here can actually see what she looks like. No better place to do it than sitting in the cockpit, so that's where I am. So if you take a look around, what you'll see is quite an odd-shaped cockpit. And as near as I can tell, and I can verify this with the sail plan that I have from 1943, I believe that this cockpit was actually built this way when the boat was built in 1931. So I'm just going to do a quick tour of the deck with this segment, and then I'll put the old headlamp on for floodlighting and go below decks and kind of tour everybody around. So when you see the, let me just stand up here. So here's the stern deck, the way it looks with the tiller. And we come around here, and then we've got the main hatch. Interestingly, the main hatch leads to the engine room, and we'll go into more detail with that, but there's the engine down there, and that's the only thing that's under there. There's no living space in this part of the boat, but you can see that there's a doorway there, and we'll see that when we get down below. So looking forward, we've got the main hatch cover, which has had some tape on it in the past, which indicates that these need to be recocked, that there's probably a little bit of leak. And you'll see there's a soft spot on the right hand side, and that is, as far as I can tell, the only place in this entire boat that has any punky wood. So looking up forward from the cockpit, we've got the salon hatch, the fore hatch, which actually leads down to the living quarters. And I'll just walk along here as we go. And you can see here that there's the fore traveler for the foresail. And down here in the hatchway opening, you can see some of the living area, which we will show in more detail a little later. It's also 5 deck lights, which are really interesting. They're quite efficient. They have what they call a Fresnel lens on them, which means that they magnify the light as it comes through the deck. And then up here we have the traveler for the jumbo, and it's a much bigger traveler than either for the fore or the main. And then on the front here, on the bow, there's actually a windlass, and it's a working windlass. We have the levers that move the drums. Have no idea what the brand name is. And then on up the foredeck, you'll see the bowsprit. Seems like it's a little bit of a short bowsprit, but it's right in keeping with the pedigree of the boat. So if I just come up onto the foredeck now and look aft, you'll see that it's a very sweet looking boat, except for that very interesting cockpit. And you can see the boom gallows at the end. That's the main boom that's just resting on the pin rail and the boom gallows. So the boat itself is 36 feet long and 9 feet wide, and if you do the math, it's 4:1, which is exactly the dimensions, or at least the ratio of dimensions of the Tankook schooners. So it is a classic Tankook schooner. So I'm going to end this now, and I'm going to go down below, maybe just point out specifically the smokestack that comes from the little wood stove that provides all of the cooking for the galley. So, and of course you'll notice that there's been some patching, not really patching, but screw hole filling by the previous owner, who intended to paint the deck. And you'll note too that the color scheme, that the deck is actually going to be a light blue, similar to the cockpit combing, and that the rails and the cabin tops are all a tan color, and that the spars and the rigging are actually a slightly different tan color. So interesting to figure out exactly the tone of these colors, because I would like to reproduce them. So with this, I'm going to stop the recording right now.